Hey there! If you have a dog in Truckee, you already know it's a pretty special place to live. And to really enjoy everything this town has to offer, from the trails to the patios, having the right training support makes all the difference. So this guide is designed to help you find that perfect fit for you and your best friend.
You know how it is here. One minute, it's just you and your pup on a quiet trail by Donner Lake. And the next, you're trying to walk through a packed downtown during a holiday weekend. A well-trained dog can take all of that in stride, with confidence. And that just makes life so much more enjoyable for everyone.
All right, so here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll talk about what makes training here in the mountains so unique. Then we'll get into what to look for in a trainer and how to pick the right program. After that, we'll touch on the costs and local rules you need to know, and we'll wrap up with some great local spots to practice everything you've learned. Okay, so let's start with training for mountain life. What makes training a dog in Truckee so different anyway? Well, it's about more than just sit and stay, right? It's about teaching your dog to handle a slick, icy sidewalk in February when the town is buzzing, or not to get flustered when a mountain biker suddenly zips by on the trail. Okay, so knowing all that, how do you actually find the right person to help you out? This brings us to our next section, what makes a great trainer? Let's break down the philosophy and credentials that really matter. So the standard for modern, effective dog training is something called positive reinforcement. It's pretty straightforward. You reward the behaviors you want to see, maybe with a treat or some praise. This builds a really strong, trusting bond with your dog. And in a town like Truckee, where you're always running into neighbors, this approach is fantastic because it helps create a well-behaved dog that everyone is happy to be around. All right, when you start looking at trainers, you're going to see a bunch of letters after their names. And yeah, it can look like a bowl of alphabet soup. But these credentials really do mean something. For general skills, something like a CPDTK tells you they've passed a pretty tough test on dog behavior and training. Now, if you're dealing with more serious stuff, like major fear or aggression, you'll want to look for certifications from the IABC. Those show a much deeper level of expertise and prove they're committed to using humane, science-based methods. So you found a few trainers you like. Awesome. The next step is figuring out what kind of program is the best fit. Let's walk through the main options to see what makes sense for your dog and, for your life. Okay, so each of these has its pros. Group classes. They're fantastic for helping your dog learn to focus when other dogs are around and great for general manners. Private in-home training is perfect for tackling really specific issues like barking at the door or leash pulling in your own neighborhood. Then you've got board and train, which can be an intensive reset. The big thing there is to make sure the trainer gives you a really clear plan so you can keep up the training when your dog comes home. That handoff is crucial. All right, when you're ready to talk to a trainer, you'll want to have some questions ready. Think of this as your consultation checklist. You don't just want to know what they do, you want to know why they do it. Definitely ask them how they'd customize a plan for your life here in Truckee. What would they do differently? And of course, get all the details on cost and cancellation policies up front. It just avoids any awkward surprises down the road. Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty money and rules. Here's what you should know about budgeting for training in Truckee and the local laws that every dog owner needs to be aware of. So yeah, training costs can be all over the map. And it's worth keeping in mind that prices here in Truckee can sometimes be a bit higher than other places. It is a mountain town, after all, and trainers often have to travel further. But this table should give you a pretty good ballpark idea of what you can expect to budget for these different services. Being a responsible dog owner in Truckee also means knowing the local rules. A big one is the leash law. Dogs have to be leashed in all public spots within town limits. That's a key one. Also, Nevada County requires every dog to be licensed and up to date on their rabies vaccination. And these aren't just, bureaucratic hoops to jump through. They're really there to help keep everyone safe, both people and our dogs. All right, now for the really fun part, actually using everything you've learned out in the real world. Your trainer is going to give you the playbook, but it's that day-to-day practice that really cements those skills and makes them reliable. And you're in luck because Truckee is basically one giant, amazing training ground. The open fields at the regional park are perfect for working on leash skills. Want to practice focusing around other people? The Donner Lake Rim Trail is great for that. The Tahoe Donner Dog Park is a safe, fenced spot for recall practice. Heck, even just taking a stroll through downtown is a perfect real-world test for good manners with all that foot traffic. Okay, and before we wrap up, I've got two super important tips that are really specific to living here. First, the elevation. It's no joke, for dogs too. So keep your training sessions a bit shorter to start and always bring water. Second,
wildlife. We share the space with a lot of critters. A rock-solid leave it and a recall that you can count on, well, those aren't just neat tricks. They are absolutely essential for keeping your dog safe out there.
At the end of the day, all this training isn't just about obedience. It's about building this incredible partnership with your dog. It's what allows you to confidently take them everywhere, from a quiet paddle on Donner Lake to a sunny afternoon on a brewery patio. The right training really does open up your entire world together here. So, best of luck on your journey, and I hope you and your dog enjoy every single adventure this town has to offer.